Welcome to episode 2 of Inside the Mind of a YouTuber. And today I'm with my buddy Josh from Momentum Productions. I'd give him a dope intro, but I feel like you guys should hear it from him. So Josh, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Kyler? How's everyone doing today? And by everyone, I just mean you and me, because we're the only ones that really know that, right?
Yeah, it's really just you and me here.
Yeah,
but technically,
dude.
we have a whole community listening. So we got them too.
Yeah. So, dude, Kyler Holland, man, we've known each other for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. We've been on a ton of trips together, and hopefully in this podcast, we'll be able to chat about those experiences and what we learned. But it's not all about me, man. This is inside the mind of a YouTuber. So I want to break down you, yourself, your channel. I mean, right now you just passed 100,000 subscribers, which is a huge accomplishment. Got that play button coming in. And then also you have 100,000 on Instagram. That's nuts, dude. How did you do that? And what techniques and tips can you give people who are trying to grow, let alone on YouTube, but also on Instagram?
I appreciate it, bro. So, to be honest, I was getting pretty fed up with YouTube. So I was like, okay, what other platforms are there? I started looking at Instagram, and in the beginning I was just posting random photos, not getting any traction on those. And then I was like, what if I just shrink down tutorials into 60 seconds or less and see what happens? So my first, I think, Instagram tutorial was the Harry Potter invisible cloak effect. And then once I published that video...
Did you use a green screen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I have an old video of that. Literally on my very first channel, before even my main channel. That's nuts. We should do a side-by-side of those two clips, because that's hilarious. That's literally how I started when I was in high school.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty hilarious.
So people ate that up, short form content. This. I remember talking to you even before you were blowing up on Instagram. We were saying yeah, you just need to post reels, and I'm like, nah, bro, I don't want to do reels. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
So it's you capitalized on the moment, and I didn't. So I guess it's kind of now knowing how you started. What was your initial video? Because I always feel it's one video that decides to take off that is all right, this works. So how and when did you find your niche of what works?
So yeah, after that Harry Potter cloak effect, I was like, oh damn, okay, people are really enjoying this. I think I got 100K views in 2 days, which for me at the time was a lot, because that was my first oh damn moment, So I kind of started analyzing how I did that video and why people would be interested in something like that. And that was, the number one reason, I think, is because I had a green screen. People love green screens. They love it.
And it's hard. The technique of keying out a green screen and making it clean. Nowadays, editing software makes it look easy, but a long time ago, it wasn't the greatest and easiest thing to do. So I think it's you're giving the audience, on Instagram, something valuable, something that they can use quickly and easily. And as soon as you show them how easy it is and how cool it is, they want more. So it's I feel you capitalized on that moment.
Yeah, exactly. So listen, people don't want to spend hundreds of hours learning how to make effects, and they don't want to spend so much money on fancy gear or anything like that. So I kind of thought about, okay, that's the type of audience I want to go for. So I tried to make these videos as simple and as easy as possible. And literally under 60 seconds, split screen of me doing stuff. I had a wide shot of Final Cut Pro, and then I had a really zoomed in shot of Final Cut Pro, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And then I did the same thing with how I shoot it, the BTS and stuff like that. So I also thought about people's attention spans. They're really, really short. So you got to have two screens going at the same time. People are always looking up, looking down, So I thought of a way to actually just keep their attention. So the split screen is really, really key. And it worked. I started doing a lot of other tutorials on Instagram, focusing on the split screen, not keeping any shot longer than 3 to 4 seconds. That's another thing I learned. So things constantly...
short attention spans. If you're holding on something for too long, they might get bored.
Exactly.
So you're just trying to amp that up. I mean, that's like looking at editing styles nowadays. Like look at Mr. Beast. Like his videos, like he'll spend millions of dollars on a video, but like the way he edits, it's so captivating because it's not these long drawn out cinematic takes, which I personally love. It's just these like quick in your face, like, yeah, I gave a guy $10,000. Here you go. Boom. And then on to the next thing. Like,
yeah,
you are kind of like brainstorming new ideas of doing that. And you've seen what works on Instagram. You've seen what works in that realm of things. And like, now it's just how can everyone else like apply that knowledge to their own reels? And I think that's valuable information. Like you just said, like make shorter, punchy clips, include a lot of information on one specific reel, because if somebody's clicking on something, they're clicking on it to learn. They're not clicking on it just to like watch you unless you're like a celebrity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the way you're going about doing it is the right way.
Yeah, man.
And let alone like, sorry to cut you off, but like even vertical videos now, like the rise of social media, like everything's 16:9, but now it's like 9:16. Like how can you fit so much information on one little screen? But so many people are scrolling. Like if you look on polls and stuff, like people like 40, 50%, 60% even are watching content on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, on everything. And it's all vertical. So what's your main thing? Like how can everyone take this approach to just creating better vertical content?
Yeah, I would keep saying like focus on that split screen, focus on that, short attention span mindset. So 3 to 4 seconds on each different shot. And just like, how, what's his name? Cold. What's his name? What's his first?
Yep.
God.
Sam Colder.
Yeah. If you look at his edits, dude, they're so overwhelming and overwhelmingly good. Let's just say that. But they're overwhelming.
Yeah, I was waiting for it because I'm like, bro, you're treading on some ice right now because I freaking love Sam Colder. Like I looked up to him when I started out and stuff, and it's like no one was doing that crazy stuff, and now it's like everyone's doing it. But
exactly.
He kind of pioneered a lot of that initial transition element, like creating dynamic stuff, and like honestly, like even right now, like this is a topic that I want to talk about in today's podcast. But perfect transition, dude. He fully switched editing software like a couple weeks ago. Like he said, I'm done with Premiere. I'm going to Resolve. And I'm like, that is a big and bold statement, but he had some good knowledge behind why he did it. And that's also like where I'm thinking, but his editing style is what is easily consumed.
It's easily consumed because there's just so much going on. Like he doesn't keep the same shot for more than a couple of seconds. And if he does, then a bunch of other stuff is happening at the same time. Like boom, 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 boom. There's no dull moment in any of his videos. So that's another reason why people watch his content so much, because so much is going on. So I kind of picked up on that as well. And that was really interesting. And then there's Sam Colder. And then I'm like, my brain is blanking on a bunch of names right now, but there's a few other people that edit in like similar styles, right? A bunch of different effects.
Got like Sam Colder, Matt Como, Rory Kramer, that one blonde kid. Like a lot of these guys I've even worked with in the past on like different projects here and there. Like some vlogs, like Matt Como just popped up in it. And then like that one blonde kid, like I've helped him out with some like packs and glitch effects for the Chainsmokers. So it's like nuts to think that like through everyone that we've looked up to and like the editing styles that are happening, like we're able to use our knowledge that we've shared with the world and also expand into like real people. Cause like a lot of people think like, oh, you're just a YouTuber, man. Like, no, it's like, it's more than that. Like being a YouTuber is more than just making free assets, making tutorials, making gimbal and glide or steady cam tutorials. Like it's more than just sharing your knowledge. It's about making a community. And that's kind of what I've done on my channel of like anyone I meet, I'm like, yo, let's keep collaborating on things. Like even Josh, you and I, let's think about the first time that we planned a trip together. Do you remember what happened?
Dude, the first time I met you, it was you flew into LA. That was the first time I met you. You flew into LA and we were just hanging out. I think you came over to I think I like even posted something on Instagram like, hey dudes, I'm in LA for a little bit. Let's connect up. And then next day I'm like in your house hanging out with you and your roommate at the time, Remy. And it was just like, this is awesome. We made like a free asset or like a light leaks and we did a couple of videos together, dude. Yeah. Like literally like took the lens off of your camera and then filmed your pillow
My girlfriend's going to yell at me if I say pillow, but I say pillow now. But yeah, dude, we filmed that. We released it for free and it blew up. So it's like, that wasn't even the first, or that wasn't even the last collaboration. Like you ended up coming down to Austin eventually.
Yeah.
We did a couple of
Utah.
videos for a company called HOLLAND. And then Utah, we actually, Insta360 reached out to do a launch video for their X2 360 camera. So the first thing I did, I texted Josh like a week before we're actually supposed to shoot. I'm like, hey man, I'm buying you a flight to Utah. We're going to go out and film this launch video for this new camera. I can't tell you any information about it until you get there. Are you down? And what did you say?
Yeah. I said, yeah.
Like, that's nuts, dude. Like to think that like YouTube and working with brands allows you to branch out and like share your creativity in a different way. And that trip was still one of the highlights of my trip. And if you guys are listening to this on Spotify or any podcast stream, whatever you want to listen on, I'll talk about it. But like, if you're watching it on YouTube, like here's a bunch of visuals of it. Like the trip was awesome. Like ultimately we went in with like a little bit of a plan, but like truly it allowed us to kind of hone in on why we do what we do. And it was an amazing experience because really it's just a bunch of dudes and their cameras, like having a great time. And then we ended up meeting up with this guy named Ben. Like, what do you think of Ben, Josh?
Dude, Ben was an interesting character, is an interesting character. I mean, that dude is a ball of energy, man. That he has zero fear. I've never met anybody like the dude. He will climb a skyscraper without a harness or anything. You just tell him, I was like, Ben, how about you climb that thing over there? He's like, okay. Like he does
he has no fear. I mean, he even did that in one of our like Utah videos that we did because he's like climbing this tower. Yeah. And the ski lift. Like he's climbing up. He's like, yeah, man, come up here and get this shot. I'm like, dude, I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but like heights for some reason like freak me out a little bit. Cause it's like, I could fall, I could die, like whatever happens. But like ultimately it was like, he is a professional slackliner. Like he's worked with everyone, including, what's the guy from, I'm blanking. Travis Pastrana. What's his group called?
Oh, Travis Pastrana. Yeah, the dirt bike dude.
Yeah. The dirt bike dude. But they have a group, and I'm blanking on the name right now. But like literally, he's worked with them, doing all this stuff out in Utah and Moab, and he does crazy things. But like how I met him was by accident because I was just vlogging one day, going up to meet this girl who is now my girlfriend, which is actually pretty exciting. And he was slacklining. He was doing a bunch of stuff. So like I went up to him. I was like, hey man, like, that's freaking dope. Like, what's your name? What's your Instagram? Let's connect. This is awesome. And so he basically started that initial conversation with allowing me in and branching out. And that's like what I say to everyone. It's like, look, you could say you're the best person in the world, but like the minute you stop and you close everyone off because you're too good for them, that's the minute that you lose. Because that initial experience got his number, got his contact information. He hit me up on a couple projects. We worked on that Utah video together and he's just doing some dope slacklining things. Even you got a lot of content about it. Like you were doing some reels behind the scene photos and stuff with that. So it's like crazy. From that experience, I was able to hook him up through Insta360 to give him like some 360 camera gear, all this stuff that he used in his own content. So it's like that initial experience bringing him on was like quite the trip of a lifetime.
It was, dude. And actually, before we talk about more of our experiences, I want to ask you a question, man, because I don't think I ever asked you like how you started YouTube and why you started YouTube. So before like we talk about the other stuff that we did, I kind of want to see where you come from, because your YouTube channel blew up and you make all these, you don't only do tutorials on effects, but you teach people how to build the effect, Yeah, it's like the power is in the creator. So it's like if you hold everything, like if I didn't show how to make these things, it would just be showing you like, here's a free asset, use it. Yeah. Like nowadays people buy a LUT pack and then they're like, all right, this is all I need. I just throw the LUT on, that's it. But no, like you need to think about the exposure. You need to think about lighting, temperature, all that stuff to like add on to it. So I started YouTube for the main goal of sharing my creativity with the world. Because the way I looked at it is, in my last podcast, I even talked about this, but like, if you think about it, a photo's worth 1,000 words, a video's kind of like priceless, right? It's like, you can see and feel the emotion a little bit more than a photo can. And I'm a photographer as well, so that's not a bash to you guys who are photographers. But
I found great joy in helping people, because think about it today, dude. YouTube is a vast place for knowledge that can be consumed easily, and it's free, right? So it's like, why not share everything you know and help someone out? Most of my following's from India. So it's like, I have people DMing me every day like, hey man, I appreciate this, I appreciate that. So I started it for sharing my creativity, and I'm finishing it and continuing it as continuing to spread knowledge and let you know that you don't need to go to film school. You don't need to do all these things, right? You can learn everything for free online, and you might surprise yourself along the way. That's basically why I started videos and stuff like that. And also, it's like people were eating up tutorials. Like earlier, you talked about Sam Colder and all that stuff, transition things. Early in the stages of 2017, you didn't really see zoom, spins, or slide transitions out there, right? It was just kind of like this initial thing, and then all of a sudden, everyone started doing those. And I was like, thinking about it, that time when everyone started doing it is the same time that I released a zoom, spin, slide transition pack. And now that pack has over like, I think 50 to 100,000 downloads. I haven't checked it recently, but like in that initial week, that's what launched my channel, because that was my first preset pack. So I was like, all right, people are eating this stuff up. Like, let's try it out. So then I made more preset packs. And before you knew it, I had 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm sitting at 250,000 subscribers. So I think it's interesting, dude, because like, you know why I started. I know why you started, but bridging the gap between all platforms is what you have been able to do. And I have yet to try that in terms of growing both on YouTube and both on TikTok. So I can tell you how to get to 250,000 if you tell me how to get to 100K on Instagram, you know? So it's like, I think we both have experiences in the same realm, but we're also very different about how we went about it. And that's the great thing, is because just because you're different than someone else doesn't make you less of a human.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you showed up to my apartment in LA and you brought out a pillow, or you just took one of my couch pillows and you're like, hey, we can make some cool light leak effects. I'm looking at Kyler. I'm like, dude, what are you smoking, man? What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, dude, just trust me. And then he literally just takes off the lens and then he shines like a light through this cup. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing. And then he puts it into like Premiere and he shows me how to composite the light leaks. And I'm like, whoa.
Yep. Yeah, dude, it's pretty mind-boggling. Like when I think about transitions, I always tell people like this, like the next time you see something that you like or you have a stupid idea, try it yourself. Don't go to YouTube right away and say, oh, how do you make a light leak, right? Just think about what happens. Like think about it like this, breaking down that initial moment. I was sitting in your apartment. I took my lens off to change lenses when we were shooting something in your apartment. Immediately, my camera was still on. So then I saw that like I had some sort of, I don't know what the hell it was called, like a bleed. And I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. So then let's try a technique out of that. And then using blend modes, I was able to create some light leaks from that. So it is pretty cool. It is an interesting idea, and you just got to keep playing around with different things. But I always say, try it before you buy it. You know, it's like you might be able to create something before you have to purchase this $3,000 preset pack or whatever the heck it is nowadays. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting topic, and you're able to push the boundaries of what the program is available to do. Like right now, I edit primarily in Premiere Pro and dabble in Resolve, but you edit in Final Cut. So like, how are like people are like, well, why are you guys talking to each other? I'm like, well, because we've been buddies. Like we do the same thing. Just because you edit in a different software, or iMovie or Movie Maker, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make you who you are. What matters is the type of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah,
like
don't discriminate.
He's doing this highlight stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, dude, the power of collaboration, man. You know, when I first got on YouTube, I wasn't really collaborating. And then I was getting to the point where I was like getting so bored with YouTube. So my first ever collaboration was with Jason Vong. I reached out to him. He's a good buddy. Yeah, he's cool. I reached out to him on IG, and we went to the Huntington Library here in California, which is a cool spot. Next time you come to LA, I'll take you to Huntington Library. You'll like it. It's and then we filmed like a gimbal tutorial or something over there. It was pretty interesting. And then after Jason Vong, I think you were the next collaboration I had. And then with James Matthews, and then Kitty Atola Visuals, and then it just kind of like, you know, the snowball effect. It just kind of compiled. And we
dude, it skyrocketed.
yeah. And then that's the number one thing that keeps you away from being completely freaking bored and depressed on YouTube, is to actually work with other people, because us as humans, man, we're social creatures, dude. We got to collaborate. We got to work with other people. If you're just working for yourself, by yourself constantly, man, it just gets harder and harder. So
I agree, man. It's like, even with that, like even the friends that you were able to show me, we've done so many things with Make Art Now, like him, Atola Visuals, like Kitty, like we did a vlog together, like different things. And then thankfully through all these collaborations and stuff, like I was able to go to Sony Camera Camp. And from there, you meet so many bigger names like iJustine, What's Inside, like all these guys and girls who are making some of the dopest content. Like even like Becky and Chris, like these guys, he's a doctor and he has a helicopter. Like their type of content is so different than what I'm making, right? And then you have people from all over editing on different platforms. So it's like the power of collaboration is what brings you to the next level. And that's kind of why I started my podcast, because honestly, like I saw you doing your podcast. I'm like, you know what? Like it really doesn't matter if there is any views on this. It doesn't matter if people unsubscribe, because I checked and I lost like 2 subscribers or something, or 4 subscribers since my last podcast. So I'm like, it doesn't matter, because like at the end of the day, we're going to share our knowledge and what we've learned and tell you and explain stories and chat about it. Because again, this is similar to why I started YouTube. Like this is an experience. Yeah. This is something that we can cherish forever. And like if we're driving in the car, I'm like, hey man, remember we did that podcast on our next shoot or something? And then you're like, yeah. And then we go back and listen to it, you know? So it's like, it's all about that. I agree, the power of collaboration is amazing. But on the other hand, you have to think and know that like just being a YouTuber is the most challenging and stressful thing. I listen to all your podcasts so far, and like a topic that frequently comes up is like how to deal and how to manage. Is it too hard? Should you start today? Like everything that's going on. So I kind of want to ask you that one simple question. If somebody's listening to this or watching this on YouTube, what would you tell them if they wanted to start a new channel or start a new Instagram? What is the one tip that you would say they need to do right now?
The one tip, love what you post, and don't just post what you think people will love.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It's really funny because I started posting what I thought people would like, but I generally hated it. And people see it. People see that you hate the content. It's pretty interesting. Your viewers know more about you than you think. So your viewers know when you're happy, when you're actually sad and you're just putting on a personality. They know that you hate the specific topic that you're talking about. They know when things are sponsored. They know when things are just like not you. So
yeah,
that's the thing. You got to post things that you're genuinely happy, impressed, and impressed about, love. Otherwise, your audience will see it, and it's not a good feeling when people call you out on not being genuine. So that would
I mean, I agree with that. I think it's like everything that we deal with, and I've talked about that a lot. Like even like this past year and a half, ever since COVID, like things have been a little bit different for me. And it's like, I kind of lost that passion of like, well, now this is becoming a job. And it's like, I don't want it to be a job. Like it should be fun. And I always say like, if you aren't loving what you do, then it's work, right? Yep. But if you love what you do, it's not work. So then you got to bridge the gap of like, all right, what can I do that it doesn't feel like work? And it's something that you're passionate about. And right now I'm extremely passionate about making tutorials. I'm extremely passionate about making these podcasts and sharing everything that we can. So I think that's one valuable information. And I think I would say, to answer my own question, I guess, is also be consistent. Like if you just say you have all these crazy ideas and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go in full swing and do this. It takes time, man. Mm-hmm. It does. Like it takes so much time. So thinking about how can I do this consistently, whether I'm working a full-time job and then YouTube's a side hustle, because that's what I currently do, is making sure you can put enough effort into that specific thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, YouTube, even if you look at it as a side hustle, it's still a full-time job, because you'll be surprised if you just count up how many hours you actually worked on a video. It will end up being like 30 to 40 hours, surprisingly, on how much people actually work on YouTube without even really thinking about it, you know? So you say it's a side hustle, but it's like a full-time job. You may not be making as much as a full-time job. So, you know, your devotion.
Dude, even with that.
Yeah.
Even with like the amount of effort that you put into these videos and stuff, it's like you post it. All right. You got 500 views in a week. Like that is so hard on new creators, because it's like if you post something and you get no views, like that's going to happen. You have to think about Josh's channel and my own channel. Like when I started in 2008. I didn't grow to 100K until 2017 because I changed what my channel was about. I said, this is what I want to do now. So it's like, you got to think, you're going to fail for years. It just takes one video. It just takes one idea that works, and then keep going with that idea. So it is challenging. And maybe you have that same experience too, man, of like, you didn't really know what you wanted your channel to be. You didn't know what was going to work. But now I feel like you and I both have an understanding of what works online and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm kind of coming to the realization that a lot of stuff stopped working on YouTube. Like a lot of stuff.
I agree.
And our clique, right? These are all the YouTubers we've hung out with. You know, Kitty, Jason Vong, James Matthews, Sydney, you know, Kyler, me, Make Art Now. We're all in like one big group. We've all met up together. We've all talked about YouTube, and we all agree that things have changed drastically. Like I was talking to Make Art Now, and he's like, yeah, man, I could be at 2 million subs. He said and I was like, yeah, dude, of course you can be at 2 million subs. But then he looked at me and he said, well, then I would have to upload 3 times a week, and uploading videos at Josh's or Make Art Now's quality 3 times a week is impossible. That you can't do that 3 times a week. It takes, if you look at his upload frequency, it's, you know, one video like every 2 months, right? That's how long it takes.
It takes that long and that much work, but like people see it and people understand that. Like I remember looking at his first initial videos, I'm like, this guy's freaking dope. And then literally I saw him at camera camp. I'm like, yo, bro, what's up? And then from there, we just kind of kept chatting. And then I was in a couple of his videos, but it's like, he's making the next level content. And that's what you got to think about, is like, I think of YouTube as like categories of like, okay, I'm at this level, someone else is at that level, but it really doesn't matter what level you're at. Like you can have the basic knowledge and your channel can blow up, because playing into the algorithm, playing into how it works, what's going to get more views, clickbaity stuff, like it doesn't really work nowadays, man. I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend of like, I just feel like if I make something that's so exciting and very rewarding for the viewer, it won't perform well anymore. Like I can't just make a video and then it blows up. Like physically, like everything has to be perfect in YouTube's eyes of like your persona, like what are you talking about it? Is it safe for ads? Like there's so many things that go into it now where it's like, all right, I'll post a tutorial and like not a lot of people watch it. And there's so many things to it. Like maybe I have a lot of older subscribers, meaning like they subscribed in 2017 and no longer edit videos. You know what I mean? So it's like, you never know. But I always say you shouldn't create because you have to. You should just create because you want to. And that's like my motto I stick by. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you're getting 5 views, 10 views, 1,000 views. Because at the end of the day, you're making something because you love it.
But what happens when YouTube becomes your full-time job? And you depend on those views. If it does become your full,
I also have that conversation with a lot of people too, is like, look, if you're doing YouTube for a full-time job, you have to figure out ways within YouTube of making more money. Even you've talked about it on your podcast of like spreading your income, of like when you talk to brands, like sticking down and playing hardball of like, no, it is $1,500. Call me back when you can meet that, or let me know when your team has budget for me. And it's like, it's because like we are doing this as a full-time job. It's not at a point to just, oh, this product is okay for payment. You know what I mean? I get it. It's nice. But at the same time, it's like, you have to like bridge that gap, and you have to use affiliate links. You have to do all this other stuff. It is not as easy as just uploading a video, because people online, you guys just see the end product. You don't see the 40 hours that Josh is putting in a week, right? So it's like, there's a lot that goes into it. But if it is your full-time job, take everything that he talked about earlier and what I said about being consistent and do it. Because most people who are using YouTube as a full-time job, they're like, oh, I'm only making like $3 a month in ad sales. I'm like, yeah, because you're just starting out. Everyone else is doing the same thing you're doing, but how can you do it better? So our friend, Make Art Now, he's doing something that no one else is doing, because the quality of content that he is putting out is so insanely next level that I don't see anyone matching that anytime soon. And if you do, kudos to you. But yeah, man, like, you have to bridge the gap. You have to find other ways of making income, like I'm sure you have done as well. Because like, what'd you say on YouTube? Like, what is your main sources of income?
Right now it's brand deals and affiliates.
Brand deals and affiliates.
Yeah.
So that is something that I stopped doing. So I'm interested now to see like how we both have shifted our goals or like our ways of making money, because mine is ad sales, some affiliate, but I don't use that at all. So I'd say no affiliate, and then products, and yeah, that's about it, man. Like, I've started looking at like creating courses, stuff like that, but like mainly products is like my big income booster.
Dude, it's creating the whole courses situation, man. You know how many emails, and I'm sure you get these emails too from people saying, oh, join our online course platform and then sell your courses. I'm like, dude, it is so much more work than you freaking think. YouTube could be a platform to build your courses. You don't need another company hosting that for you, because they get a portion of your money, and then you have to find a way to market it. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, man.
There's so much. And like, I had this conversation last week with a company called Uscreen.
Yeah.
They pulled me in and they're like, hey, like, this is all everything. I'm like, yeah, it looks great. But like, at the cost per month, and then the setup time, like the amount of hours you have to go into planning each thing, it takes time. So I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. But like, ultimately, like, I'm probably not going to do anything with it, because like, I physically don't have time to do that, because I'm releasing everything on YouTube for free. And eventually I might get to that. But like, if I were to do something, I would already integrate it within my website, and I would design it myself. I would build it up from the ground up from myself using my website provider and stuff, because everything's seamlessly integrated, right? Yeah. So it's like, you're looking at that. Is it worth it? And then the thing I'll tell you, man, is like, I just found this out. By 2024, the e-commerce, online course, online marketing, whatever you want to call it, business is going to be over $350 billion, when it was just over $1 billion or $100 billion like a couple years ago. So it's like, people are putting money into that because they find valuable stuff in it. But then that's when we have to decide, where's the fine line? Like, do we keep doing stuff on YouTube for free, or do we start putting things behind a paywall? Because what does that look like to your audience? And I can tell you what it looks like for me, but I want to hear from you, man. Like, if you just started making all your videos pay per view, what do you think would happen?
My audience would hate it.
Exactly.
And I'm sure a lot of other people's audiences would hate it. It's like, you offered so many pieces of content for free, and then all of a sudden it kind of feels like you're betraying your audience.
I agree. And with that whole mindset is like, anytime I release a product, 90% of the time it is free. So it's like all this stuff, like, you just watch the full video. Like, it says it's $5, but you watch the video, you get a discount code if you watch the video, and then it marks it down to 100% off. So it's free, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is like, anytime I release a paid product that took me weeks to build out and stuff like that, people are like, oh, what the heck, bro? Like, this isn't free. You said it was going to be free, or I can't download it for free, all this stuff. So everyone hates you for that. And then you lose subscribers. But at the same time, it's like, we're also doing this as like our business and our job and our life. And I'm getting older. I want to start my future with my girlfriend. I want to have kids. I want to get married, like all this stuff, but it costs money. So it's like, sometimes you have to bridge that gap. And I think the way that I found of still being able to give back to the community and make some money on the side is offering things for free if you just watch my videos, because then in turn that will get more people to click on the video, stuff like that, like using the algorithm that doesn't really work nowadays. So it's like, I think I'm going to stay away from the courses and stuff right now. Like I know Parker Wahlbeck from Full Time Filmmaker, he's making probably over $60,000 a week.
Dude, he
just
spends
his
so
courses
much
alone.
money on marketing. It is insane.
Well, I watched his video on it, and he spends $7,000 a week on Facebook ads. He talks about the sales funnel of like how everything works, and then ultimately down at the bottom, like in return, he's making $57,000. So then take out the 7,000, he's still making $50K a week. But like knowing how to do all that, doing all that from one person is completely unfeasible. So he has a team helping him and build out these things and all this stuff. So it's like, it's great what he's doing, but it's not really feasible for us, you know, single man shows. Because I haven't hired anyone. Like, have you hired anyone to like help out with things?
No.
Yeah, man.
But you know, the history behind Parker Wahlbeck, right? Like he used to shoot for Devin Graham, Supertramp.
Yeah, Supertramp, and then he branched off and then blew up bigger than them because he didn't like what they were doing and stuff. And he's like, I can do this myself.
Yeah, dude. So I actually talked to Devin a few times. I met him when I was working with this YouTube chick. Her name was Olga K. Like she was like a big vlogger back in 2016. And I went to VidCon with her. And that's when I met Devin. And yeah, I actually met Annoying Orange, the guy who created Annoying Orange. Yep. Remember that? I met him at VidCon, and I met Lindsay Sterling there. And yeah, like that's another whole big group. They're like OG YouTubers. So
yeah, like back in the day before YouTube became like a job.
Yeah.
Like when it was fun.
Yeah, when it was
just
fun.
Share videos.
Because
cat videos, and
you literally could do whatever you wanted on YouTube. Like there was free speech and all of that stuff, but it's like I hate how monitored it is now. And I actually just made a podcast about it, and it was just it's just
I literally just listened to it.
Yeah, it's just super frustrating, man, because they're limiting you. And I'm sure Make Art Now would do some even crazier shit if he wasn't limited. I'm sure YouTube limits everybody. Yeah, man, it's just I still love YouTube, but I just don't like the direction it's going.
It's also, but you got to think like, so we all have these ideas, but then earlier you mentioned something about like if it's your full-time job and stuff. And I know you also work outside of YouTube. You've worked with some big name people, which I don't want to mention. You can mention it because I don't know if it's like a private contract or whatever, but like with working with people, it's like you can kind of make more money outside of YouTube. But like if you really work the algorithm and work the inner weavings of YouTube, you can make a lot of money. Like Mr. Beast decided that, well, if more than 90% of the entire world doesn't know how to speak English, he's like, why don't we make channels in all these different languages? So he literally make Mr. Beast Japanese, Mr. Beast China, whatever it is, like Chinese, like he is making these channels and those are all blowing up. So then he's making more revenue from those channels. Like I've seen some behind the scenes photos of his like studio page. I'm like, this guy's freaking doing it right. Like it's nuts. Like I've even had Chinese companies reach out to me saying, hey, we want to buy all your videos, translate them and post them to our website. And I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
And it's not a scam. Like it's real, but I'm like, I'm okay. Because it's like, it's new for me. Like I don't have a manager. It's so much work. And I'm like, damn. But yeah, I don't know what direction YouTube is going in, but I know that the reason why I create is not because I have to, but because I want to, right? Like what we talked about earlier. So it's like, you have to find it from within. And I think you and I both, no matter what, we are shifting to the direction of we're going to do what we want, not really what YouTube wants us to do, not really what everyone else is telling us we should do. There is no bad idea. So I think if we just keep with that mindset together of just keeping each other motivated, collaborating on things, doing our podcast, doing videos, tutorials, creating more shorts, and I'll get better on Instagram, buddy, but doing what we want, then it'll make it seem a little bit better. It'll make it seem like a better community.
I agree. I think that's the number one thing to focus on, man. Also, I wanted to get your take on this too. How do you handle a brand? How do you handle collaborations with brands? What's your approach?
I'll tell you this. Yeah, straight up, dude. I turn away 95% of the brand deals I get.
Why?
And I'll tell you why. There is only a select few items that I have worked with in the past where I'm like, okay, this is great. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice that my camera is slowly sliding back and forth. Well, I did a deal with Edelkrone back in the day, like almost a year and a half, 2 years ago now, where they said, oh, we'll send you out a slider, just make a tutorial video on it. And that was one of those scenarios where I was like, okay, I don't really need to negotiate a price on this because I value your company. It's a quality company. So then they sent me out the slider. I made a couple of videos on it and I still use this slider to today, right? In terms of other companies that I don't really value their product, I'm like, hey, thanks for reaching out, but really not interested in this time. Maybe we can work on something in the future. Now, if it's a company that I actually like, I'll be like, here's my daily rate. And then they'll come back with something. Like I've worked with MusicBed to Artlist to Envato Elements, different things. Like here's my rate. We'll do a plan and they'll match me at my rate. And then if the feedback that they get isn't what they were expecting or the clicks weren't expecting, then that rate would be lowered for the next time. Or I could have the potential to increase my rates. So it's kind of setting your own rates. Like what's your daily rate? How much are you going to charge for a video? But I also look at it as I don't like doing dedicated videos anymore. I don't like just making one video about one product. I like to inject it into my content so it doesn't feel like it's out of place, right? I used to do review videos, but looking at it like that, hey, I'll make you a video, but here's the deal. I'm going to include it in like a little ad slot. So if I'm making a tutorial on this crazy transition, I'll be like, what's up, everyone? Like, I know you like this transition, but if you want thousands of assets, then go to Envato Elements, blah, 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 blah. And then like, I'll have a plug. Because if it doesn't seamlessly integrate with your content, then it's not going to work. But you got to play hardball and stick to your rates. If the company is not willing to pay your rates, then that is not a company you want to work with.
How about has any brand reached out to you and they were like, hey, what views can you guarantee?
I tell them, and I tell everyone this, look, you're not paying for the views you're receiving now. You're paying for the years that it has taken me to build my channel to this, to the potential for this video to blow up. Because just because it didn't blow up in the first week doesn't mean that 5 years from now, it's still going to have 1,000 views. 5 years from now, it could have 25,000 views. And that's still people clicking on your content. It still lives forever. It's not like, oh, I need 1,000 views in a week. It's, you will get that over time. So I'm like, there's more value in your channel content. Because think about it like this, man. 5 years ago when you were doing brand deals, right? What was your channel at? Like 10,000 subscribers?
Yeah.
20,000 subscribers, right? So think about it now. 5 years ago, I was at less than 1,000. Now I'm at 250,000. So that brand deal I did in 2016 is going to get a lot more traction and visibility because my channel has grown from less than 1,000 to 250,000. So I tell them, think about the future and what is going to happen.
Have you ever been taken advantage of by a brand?
I would say so. I would say in terms of what the product was and what I received was not it. And I play hardball with them. I'm like, hey guys, like I'm not comfortable sharing this with my audience. So I would say in that terms of saying like, they want the product out and then they're yelling at me, all that stuff. But like, I'm not going to make a video on something if I don't truly use the product or feel that the product is valuable. So then I'll say, I can return this free of charge. And they'll be like, well, you need to pay for shipping, all that stuff. I'm like, no, like you guys sent this to me. You can print a packing label and give it to me and I'll give it back to you guys. Cause like, I'm not going to use this. Right. So it's like when I get taken advantage of, I interpret that as something that was promised that wasn't really ever delivered or executed on and stuff. So it's like, you're taking my time and I will use this product, but when it turns out it doesn't really work the way it was supposed to, then I can't do anything on that.
So what would you say, like maybe your top 5 brands that you were happy working with?
HOLLAND, 1000% is the best brand if you ever get to work with them. I've turned down a lot of their products recently just because I'm shifting directions, but like literally it all sits on my shelving up there. They are the best company ever. Every holiday, they'll send me like this giant Christmas pack. Like my girlfriend, my dog, and I, they sent me this giant like puzzle that you can like put together. Like it's so thoughtful. Yeah. They're looking great at it like that, and I love it. They are the best. So HOLLAND, if you guys are listening to this, I love you guys. I will reach out soon so we can chat and catch up.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, hopefully I don't get in trouble for this, but in the terms of audio, think about like this. How many music providers are there out there in this world, Josh?
I only know of like 3 big ones.
Yeah, like name them. Epidemic Sounds.
Yeah, Music Bed,
Artlist.
Epidemic, and Artlist.
Yeah, so those three main ones, right? So I had each three of them reach out for videos, and I've done videos on all of them, right? Starting last year, I cut ties with Music Bed entirely because they wanted me to go into an exclusive contract, and I was like, I can't do this, right? I don't want to do that because when I think of exclusivity, I think of limiting the creator because you might find better music somewhere else. And I told them that in my meeting with them. I was like, look, guys, I can't do this. So maybe I was taking advantage of there because like your link is everywhere in my description. I promote you guys to this day. Mm-hmm. So let me continue helping the creator and share all these other ideas because maybe Music Bed isn't right for someone. Maybe someone else wants to go to Artlist, which Artlist is my main go-to now. Like I'm probably going to do a video with them this week. I had a meeting with them and it was awesome. Like they hooked me up with all the sound effect pack and stuff. And like, we're working on deals of like giving the creator more stuff. So it's like when a brand wants to get exclusivity rights, it may work for some people, but I'm not going to stick to one brand because we change cameras weekly. We change programs every now and then. So it's like things are going to change as the environment changes. So I think when brands try to make exclusivity rights, that's when I feel taken advantage of.
Yep. I mean, yeah, a lot of brands nowadays especially think they own the creator. So they'll do whatever it takes to keep them on a very short leash, right?
Yeah.
So when you read a contract, how do you read it? Do you like, how long does it take you to absorb all that info? Like, how do you come about it?
Yeah, like most of the time it comes in through an email. It's not like an actual contract signed form until we get to the next step. So it's like you read this email, you see like what they have to offer, like what's going on. And I'm like, all right, I want to move forward with this, right? So then I'll reach out like for Insta360. They had this initial thing like, hey, this is NDA, you got to sign it. New camera's coming out. This is like a couple months before the camera was released. So it's like, yeah, let's do this. And I looked at the contract and the contract's huge of like your executions that you have to fulfill. Like we talked about all these things. It's lined out clearly. I'll read it line by line. I do not deal with a lawyer when I'm dealing with the contract based stuff because I feel like I can read it carefully and look at it. And if there's any gray area lines, I'll simply reply and ask them about this. Hey, I noticed that you guys asked me to do this one thing, but we never talked about it. So where's the gray area here? So it's just having an open communication with your source is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Never, guys, for those of you who are watching this, never be scared to ask questions. Don't be intimidated by the contracts. Always ask. The more questions you ask, the better. And if the brand gets irritated, you shouldn't be working with them. They should be able to break down the contract very easily for you. So I always, whenever I'm unsure, I always ask questions. And a lot of these companies that we work with are they're foreign companies, like they're outside of the US. So a lot of the times they're translating their contracts from another language. So you really have to ask questions if something doesn't make sense. Like I've had multiple contracts with terms that contradicted themselves. So I had to, I had to like ask questions about this, and you don't be scared to ask questions, guys.
I agree. I think it's important, and you got to hold strong with your beliefs and what you want and what's going to work for you. But Josh, starting to lose my voice because I ran out of water. So I think we should wrap this up in the next like couple minutes or so.
All good.
But I definitely will bring you on again, and hopefully you can bring me on your podcast or whatever sometime. Yeah, because we have so much knowledge that we can share with the world. We have so much to talk about, and it's hard to fit that in just this little conversation that we're having right now. But like, how do you want to wrap this up? Like, how do you just break down everything we just talked about? How do you break down what's going to happen in the future of like everything? Like, we all have different ideas and plans, and like, what's your big takeaway of like, where is the next Josh Momentum Productions going?
Where's the next? My plan, I'm going to stay on YouTube. I might not be posting as much, but my end goal here is to like be a spokesperson for a few companies, man. I want to get back to traveling and just exploring what else is out there. It's sad for me to say that I'm not going to be focusing on YouTube as much, but I've had my fun. And I've made great friends, great partnerships. But I think it's time for me to start venturing out and start exploring other possibilities. But I'm not going to stop posting. But my focus is just going to be on other projects for a little bit. But For those of you who are starting YouTube, I would say, again, what Kyler and I talked about, you got to post what you're genuinely interested about, genuinely love, and never be afraid to ask questions, and always stick to your guns, always stand up for yourself, never be a pushover with aggressive brands. I think those are just some great, and always be open to collaborations with other social media creators. I think that's a number one thing.
I completely agree. And like, I'm glad, like, I hear that you are branching out, because that's the biggest thing is like, don't limit yourself to one thing. If YouTube's not working anymore for you, like, try different things.
Yeah.
Go freelance stuff, work for a company. Like right now, like, I decided to work a full-time job down in Austin, Texas, and it's completely changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
So now looking at it, it's like, I'm still trying to manage both. And then where does the next step lie for me? And it's like, I don't know. It's like, I'm still going to be making YouTube content like you are. And it's just the frequency is something that I want to get back into, because like we talked about earlier, it is becoming harder and harder to blow up and grow on YouTube. Like my subscribers each month, like it starts to decrease, and now I'm on the back up. But like there was a peak there where I was doing like 17,000 subscribers a month. And I won't ever see that again, I feel like, because it's like, it's just so much. Like everyone's doing the same thing you are, but they're doing it better. So it's like, what can you do, that's going to change the narrative of it's too hard, all that stuff. So I think that's a great model to have. And like looking at everything, and YouTube is like, maybe it's not the best source of income for everyone else, but for us, for you and me, like we've managed to make it work. But there is thousands of things that we have done before getting to where we are today.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get Josh back on this podcast. And if you guys are enjoying it, please let me know down in the comments below. Go check out Josh's channel, because he has a ton of stuff. It's basically type in Momentum Productions on YouTube and it'll pop up, but he's making some dope content as well.
Likewise for Kyler Holland, man. If you're watching this on my channel, check out Kyler Holland's channel. He's the man, dude.
Dude, no, you're the man.
Dude, thank you so much for coming up with this idea to have us collaborate on this podcast, dude. It was brilliant. I had a great time. We definitely got to do more of these.
Yeah, I'm totally down. That would be dope. Until the next time, Josh, I'll see you there.
See you there, bro.